In this module, we will review the NFHS rule changes for 2018-2019.
Module 4 will cover the NFHS Rule 1, which is the definition changes, NFHS Rule 2 changes, NFHS Rule 3 changes, and finally, our assessment. First, let's take a look at the changes for definitions, which are the basis for all our rules, and what you should always refer back to when interpreting any Spirit rule.
This year, NFHS has added definitions for head spin, head spring, head stand, and shoulder stand to support new rules that they've added. Definitions for non-release stunt and release transition/release pyramid transition have been revised to align with the definition of release stunt. They now all focus on contact, or the lack thereof, between the flyer and a person on the performance surface. With these changes, you can determine if a skill is a release if the flyer loses contact with everyone on the performance surface. Please note that when a flyer maintains contact with a bracer, which is another flyer, in a pyramid but loses contact with everyone on the performance surface, it's a release skill. Next, the definition for suspended roll has been revised. The phrase upright base has been removed, which allows bases of suspended rolls to now be lying on their back on the ground. This revision allows for a new variety of suspended roll inversions. Finally, the definition for Swedish fall has been revised such that it is no longer considered an extended stunt because the lowest point of support is the flyer's hands on the base's shoulders. With this in mind, let's talk about extended stunts. While NFHS has not revised the definition of an extended stunt or position, please be advised that two other elements should be taken into consideration. First is that the bases should be standing upright to be considered an extended stunt. And second, the lowest point of support of the flyer should also be taken into account. NFHS will consider revising the extended definition next year to reflect these elements. With this in mind, it's important to note that while the skills pictured meet the definition of an extended stunt, once you take into account the previously mentioned points, they will not be considered extended stunts. In the photo on the left, while the bases have their hands above their heads, the lowest point of support is the flyer's hands on the shoulders of the base, which is at prep level. In the photo on the right, the base is lying on the ground, so this will not be considered an extended stunt, although it meets the current definition. Finally, we will review the Rule 3 changes to the NFHS Spirit rules. Please note that since we're only reviewing the changes, you still need to read through the entire book and become familiar with them. There are a variety of videos on the NYSCJA Safety webpage that demonstrate many of these rule changes, so be sure to check them out. First, Section 1 has a rule addition with 3.1.11 addressing head wraps. Section 2 has a single rule revision involving stunting personnel. Rule 3.2.8, a spotter is required for tosses to single base shoulder stands and single base prep level stunts in which the foot or feet of the top person are in the hands of the base. This rule change only requires a spotter for loading a flyer into a shoulder stand using a toss to shoulders method. It does not require a spotter for other methods of loading into a shoulder stand, nor does it require a spotter in a shoulder stand once the flyer is loaded into the skill. To be clear, a spotter is required for any single base stunt, prep level or higher, in which the foot or feet of the top person are in the hands of the base. The method of loading into this skill does not matter. Section 3 has multiple rule changes. Let's start with brace flips. The first change is to 3.3.5b. There must be 3 people involved in the toss and catch of the top person in a braced flip. Please note that the 3 people can be any mixture of bases and spotters. Next, 3.3.5g. When the catchers are not the original bases, the new catchers must be in place when the flip is initiated and must remain close to the original bases and are not part of any other skill when the flip is initiated. The next series of changes involve all other inversions. In 3.3.6a, inversions may release to non-inverted dismounts with no more than a half turn, which is basically saying that releases from inversions to the performance surface or to cradle should not end in an inversion. 3.3.6b, in inversions where the base of support begins and remains below prep level, at least one person shall maintain contact with the top person until the top person is no longer inverted or his or her hands are on the performance surface. This rule no longer requires upper body contact or contact enough to stabilize the flyer's body position, plus contact by one person on the performance surface. As a result, we should no longer see violations on the transitions to prone where the flyer's upper body becomes inverted after the flyer is caught by the bases. In 336C, inversions where the base of support begins or passes through prep level. The first part requires upper body contact by at least one person plus another person close enough to protect the head or neck of the flyer. This second person can be a base or a spotter. The next change pertains to the foldover exception, which now allows for foldovers to new catchers. Please note, the stunt where a flyer does a handstand, then hooks their legs over the shoulders of a base and transitions to a shoulder sit is considered passing through prep level. Not with the shoulder sit, but when the flyer hooks their legs on the base and the base is grabbing the legs on their shoulders. Therefore, this stunt requires a person having upper body contact with the flyer for all or part of the transition from inverted to non-inverted. The base actually serves as the second person in a position to protect the head and neck of the flyer. There is one change to Section 5 on release transitions in 335. In braced release transitions, when the catchers are not the original bases, the new catchers are in place when the transition is initiated. They must also remain close to the original bases and are not part of any other skill at the time the release is initiated. Our final rule change is in Section 8 involving tumbling. Rule 388, headstands, head spins, and head springs, in which the hands are not used for support, are prohibited. This means that when performing any of these, at least one hand must be on the ground to help support the athlete performing the skill.
At this time, please click on the links directly below this video and take the Module 4 assessment. At the bottom of the page, you have the opportunity to submit questions that will be answered during the live training sessions being held across the state. Again, please visit the NYSCJA safety page and NYSCJA judges and NYSPHSAA committee pages for updates throughout the year, including NFHS editorial corrections and submitted videos for specific rulings. Once you have completed this module and the associated questions, you have completed the prerequisites for attending the live safety judges training. During this training, we will answer your questions, practice judging multiple videos for safety, and discuss those results together. I look forward to seeing you there.